What is going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome back, y'all, to another edition of the Tuffy Talk live show. Y'all are so excited to get to this here today. As again, we are sitting here 3-1, y'all. We're bringing the juice. Why? Because we got the win. That's all that matters, y'all. At the end of the day, we are sitting here 3-1. There's a lot of
just
teams
be happy with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that are 0-4 out there, y'all. There's a lot of teams that wish they could be sitting here at 3-1, and I'm sitting here saying, and I'm still sitting here thinking about Notre Dame and being like, they looked mighty good against a really good Ohio State team. I'm just saying, and definitely excited to get to it. But with us here today, we got Phillip Danford here, a football analyst here for Inside Pack Sports. Phillip, pleasure to have you on once again. Thank you so much for your time. It's always a pleasure to get you on here to talk all things ball, man.
I appreciate it, guys. You're right. It does feel like a loss coming out of this game. I mean, I'm one of those, I've had the opportunity to speak and have different people listen over the years of podcasts or whatnot. I'll bring up negative stuff, but I do feel like some folks are taking the negative a little too far right now. Let's pull back some of these ledge jumpers at this point. I mean, you're 3-1, frankly, exactly where I thought you'd be. You have some things to correct, but we'll get into them here. We'll get into some details, I'm sure. But listen, I think there's not insurmountable issues right now with this team. So,
yeah. Well, and definitely I want to kind of talk on a couple of things, as we did ask our Discord members, which if you're not a member of our Discord channel, it's free to do. So make sure to take advantage of that. But we did ask our Discord members if they had any questions, which they did submit a few. So we definitely want to get to them before we have to let you go here. But, I did want to kind of get to the first main thing here, which I think to me, talking about Brennan Armstrong, I know, that is like, if you're going to talk about state football, the first conversation which is going to start any of it off is Brennan Armstrong. Like, what's his deal? Why isn't he 2021? Should we bring in MJ? Things like that. Looking at his stat line, obviously not impressive. 50% completion percentage. 2 touchdowns, an interception, and first and foremost, I want to kind of get out of the way here. Like, it seemed like that interception was miscommunication. It looked like to me like Vereen was supposed to go one way, or Armstrong, and because seeing Anai get after Vereen after that play, it seemed pretty obvious that that Vereen should have gone one way when he actually went another. Is that what the read you were getting as well on the interception?
Yeah, I mean that play's fascinating. It's funny. We spent the entire halftime, Alex G and James Henderson, myself, watching that playback and talking about it and texting, like, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? Because that play felt a little bit of a microcosm of what we're seeing on the offense as a whole, and even to an extent, some of the defense, where miscommunication right now is an issue. And some of that is new guys and new spots. Some of it's injury related. Some of it's freshmen like Vereen coming in. My take on it, and now I could be wrong here, was I thought the way the routes kind of distributed, you had a vertical, I want to say Keon Lassane on the outside, and then you had this kind of, outbreaker from Vereen, but they're sitting in cover 3 and they've got a flat defender right there. My take on it was, I think Vereen was correct. Now, of course, the response of Robert Anai says no, but because the way I look at it, if you're reading man zone, if there's a zone defender sitting there, right, what do? You sit in the void of the zone and you don't run into him. And that's kind of the way I thought. My interpretation of that play was Brennan Armstrong read man, and he threw it like it was a man concept. That's why the ball was high and away. But yet Vereen saw zone, and Vereen kind of curled up into the void, and obviously complete miscommunication. Now, I don't know definitively either way. I put it more on Armstrong, but I'm hoping something comes out this week. We find some good film. I have yet to find, I've searched high and low to get good all 22 of this to really definitively say, and I'm not sure we can yet, but that was my take on it. And this whole concept of miscommunication, we'll get into it, right? We saw some stuff with Lyndon Cooper at center, some miscommunication on blitz pickups. We even saw stuff in the secondary, right? Miscommunications on, for example, UVA's first touchdown on the scramble. Miscommunication was very much a theme that allowed UVA to stay in this game.
So how do you fix that?
Well, Yeah, exactly. How do you fix that? Exactly. I mean, kind of breaking it down here first and foremost. I mean, offensive line wise, I think this was the first game of the four where I really said, man, like there was a lot of pressure on Brennan. After doing so well in pass protection for Notre Dame and VMI. So, I mean, first question that comes to my mind is, was losing Dylan McMahon really that big of a difference?
From my perspective, the pressure rate, because I chart every game and I spend a lot of hours, the night after.
Hmm.
And the pressure rate actually wasn't as high as I even anticipated. It felt like there were high leverage situations where UVA was able to get into the backfield, but as a whole, it wasn't that bad. My pressure rate was only 20% in this game, which is actually right around the norm for NC State. For example, Notre Dame 2 weeks ago I had it at 32%. So there was a notable difference. Where I see issues up front is we saw this multiple times. You'll see things like half slides where the line will zone to one side. So you got three guys going to one side, the center and guard tackle one side are zoning, and then it's man blocking on the other. And it felt like there was some miscommunication a couple of times about which side is the man side versus the zone side, and that left a free runner up the middle. It felt like that happened a few times. To me, something like that is correctable, right? It's not a you got whooped up front and there's nothing you can do about it because we don't have a guy who can anchor at the center position. That is, hey, we need to get in the film room, figure out what is wrong with our calls. Were guys not hearing it? Was it the wrong call? Was Cooper saying one thing and doing the other? Right? We won't know that. That's an
Right.
internal issue. But to me, not again an insurmountable piece. And I'll say this because there was actually some really good for folks on the IPS message boards, right? Steve Williams, right? I respect the heck out of it. Guy knows ball, been doing it for a long time. Steve, today, like he put more on the offensive line than even myself. And I think that's one of the frustrating parts right now is trying to figure out where's the biggest issue, right? He put it at the offensive line. Personally, I put it more in aspects of the passing game, whether it be personnel and the vertical usage of them. But that is a little bit of the frustrating part. Like, where does it go? Every piece has a little bit of issues that you're hoping get ironed out as the season goes on. But it is a bit of a confusing time. We're a third of the way through the season. I can point to reps on the offensive line that weren't good, and I can point to reps in the secondary that weren't good. And so you're still trying to work through those. But again, I can be one of the guys, I'll tell you on our podcast, I can be one of the negative guys, most negative on there, but I'm not jumping off the ledge at this point about the offensive line. I'm not. Well, let me ask you guys, what were your expectations for the offensive line? And let's extend that to the running game coming into the season.
So for me, I knew it was going to be a work in progress all year, just because there are a lot of new pieces. The depth for me, it was depth was really, you figured your starting guys were going to be good, but if you took a hit somewhere, who's going to be able to step up, right? We were thinking Jamillo was going to be kind of that swing guy. He gets injured earlier in the preseason, so that's out. And then you just got a lot of young guys and guys that aren't playing positions that they have been playing for many years in the system, and it's a brand new system too, right?
Yep.
So you add that extra layer on. So there's a lot of layers of complexity for me.
Yeah. For me, I've been more impressed than I thought I would be. I thought we played the offensive line specifically played really well against Notre Dame, which was I wasn't expecting that. And it maybe Brennan Armstrong's his scrambling ability hides some of that, but that's kind of how it works when you that's the advantage of having a mobile QB.
Yeah.
Some that maybe the New York Jets need to think about a little bit more, but Go ahead, Phillip.
And as I think about the offensive line, right, I'm right there with you guys. I think we were on here kind of talking preseason. I didn't have super high expectations. I was very vocal. I had concern about the guard positions coming into this season. To an extent, I think Carter's played pretty well, and he wasn't a starter. I think Eason, who I've said before, right, I thought there was a lot of improvement there. I think he has improved to an extent. It's not a world beater. This is not a line that's going to maul you and mash you. We've seen issues in short yardage, but this is one of the places where I've had some folks in my Twitter mentions and all that really, starting to come down on Coach Anai, and I don't necessarily completely love the passing game, and we'll get into that, but I believe the running game I believe they are maximizing it. I really do, because I don't view this as an overly talented group. Whether it be the offensive line, whether it be the running backs, I just don't view it as overly talented. But the way he's using formations to create space and light boxes, the read run game is critically important. Being able to get Armstrong as a true threat, and he's doing that very consistently. I actually think they're doing a pretty good job of maximizing it. Now, I want to say, I'm curious your guys' thoughts on it. Post game, Coach Doeren mentioned inconsistencies in the run game, and where I don't know if I agreed with it, right? Well, he's the head coach. But to me, I guess that all goes back to I believe he's thinking to that fourth quarter drive where they get the ball inside the 20 and they really tried just 2 true run concepts on first down and second down, no read, and they didn't go anywhere. Yeah. And I think that was his frustration. But as a whole, extrapolating it out, I guess I'm not as concerned about it because, again, I never thought the run game was going to be what makes this offense go. Right? It was going to be the pass game all along. The run game is a complement. So I'm not concerned to a high degree right now. Will things change down the road? We'll see, but that's where I'm at tonight.
I think my biggest concern in the run game is Brennan Armstrong is your leading rusher, right? So if you're gonna nitpick at it, it's gonna be Brennan Armstrong's your leading rusher, and your short yardage goal line has struggled at times when you really try to run it. I think we've done a really good job running the ball, like off script, if that makes sense. Like when the defense isn't really expecting it, we've popped a couple of those type of runs, especially later in like the late second quarter when you in the 2-minute offense. I think we've done a really nice job on those. But I think there is obviously room for improvement overall, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and on top of it too, I mean, I think that a lot of it comes down to, like, just like Steve says, I mean, like just the talent on the offensive line is, not to the level that we want it to be in order for the run game to be truly successful. At the end of the day, yards until contact is a big thing. And I mean, I don't even have to chart it like you, Phillip, to say, I mean, they probably get contacted right at the line of scrimmage, maybe a yard or two past it on average at most, and just, not taking a knack. But at the end of the day, it's just like, unfortunately, this offensive line is just not to that caliber where they can be strong on pass pro and on run protection or, run blocking. And it seems like the strength of this offensive line is more on the pass protection side than maybe the run blocking side. So, for that's kind of my 2 takes on it. I think that, now with Houston being out, that you have Michael Allen as, your presumptive bell cow. So I think, he gets more reps, kind of finds his rhythm, because I think there's even a rhythm between the offensive line and the running backs. I think that, when we're going to kind of talk about, how maybe some of the issues with offense is the fact that there's so many new guys that you just can't get that rhythm going between the quarterback and the wide receivers. That same thing is going a little bit with the running backs and offensive line, because offensive line kind of knows, like, okay, Michael Allen, like he loves, these certain runs, or he loves to, dive inside. So I need to, be a little bit more outside, presumptive, things like that. So that's kind of my take on it, but, to be determined,
Yeah.
I have one thing that, I was listening to the recap pod that you guys did on IPS, and the one stat you mentioned, let me read it. So I think I got it right. When State gets 5 or more yards on the first play of a drive, they've scored a touchdown or attempted a field goal on 13 of those 20 drives. And when they don't get 5 or more yards on the first play, they've only scored or attempted a field goal on 6 of the 24 drives. And that's kind of just like, that's crazy to me. When you think about it, it's like it's just one play, but it's that first play that really sets the tone for the whole drive.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, it's what we call P and 10. So possession in 10, and it is important, right? It sets the tone. This is a play you're coming off the sideline. Your offensive coordinator has had an opportunity to think about it, right? Really kind of process the last drives and what they're doing, coverage and defense wise, and it is important, right? And because this offense has really, it's wild when you think about it. I know a lot of people are down on the offense, and there's definitely aspects of it that can improve. They're really good on third down. Now, maybe to the point they're too reliant on third down, and they need to win earlier on first and second. I mean, that's one of the things I'm looking for is a little earlier aggression on first down in particular. That one stands out to me because I actually ran some numbers today where they are only 16% of first downs for NC State this year have come on the first down. So second down, third, I mean, it's just making up the vast majority. And that is so opposite of what we've seen from recent year Robert and I offenses, where they had tons of success on first down. So I'm very interested in what is that disconnect we're seeing from past year and I offenses to this year, because they were so good at staying ahead of the chains. And it makes a difference, right? Starting off that drive and you're only getting 1 yard or, a negative yardage play. My goodness, when they get negative yardage play, they were really struggling to overcome that. So,
yeah. And just for the sake of time, I want to kind of get to a couple of these comments here. First of all, Reynolds, Hunter, good to see you all, and look forward to seeing you all on Friday as well. Andy saying we all pretty much expected to be 3-1, but we all thought it would have been a lot easier and would look a lot better to this point, which is fair for sure. And Hunter saying we haven't come close yet to putting it all together as a team, so I think we can still have a strong year. And absolutely, again, keeping in mind we're still only a third of the way through the season. We're still very early in the ball. There's still a lot of opportunities, and a lot of those opportunities are at home. So again, a huge bonus there. And then Andy saying, Phillip, love your numbers and your charts, man. Great job, dudes. So what is the blitz rate? What I guess the question is asking is
what was Virginia's blitz rate?
Blitz rate.
I'd have to go back and look. It wasn't astronomically high. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it wasn't one of those that jumps out to me. Like, I have charted games where we've had teams blitz state 40-45% of the time, and that's a very high number. Usually blitz rates are somewhere in the 20 to 30% range. And what I'm calling a blitz is 5 or more, right? 4 is a standard. 3 is you're dropping 8. I'm always looking 5 or more. And it wasn't particularly high, honestly, because actually the way Virginia really plays it, they do a lot on the back end. They rotate a lot post snap, and they'll run a lot of what people will refer to as creepers. And creepers is just simply, it's kind of a form of a zone blitz where, you might have a nickel come off the edge, but he's going to come off and they're going to drop somebody else. And it's going to look like a blitz, but it's really just 4 guys coming. They're just bringing them from different angles. They did that quite a bit. So it looks like a blitz, but ultimately it's just 4, but they might be trying to overload, or they might be trying to isolate and get one-on-one against a certain guy that they view as the weak link of the offensive line. So,
absolutely. Yep. And so let's go ahead, y'all, and jump on over to some of these questions that you guys sent in. So let's jump on over to Tuffy's mailbag, y'all. All right, so first question submitted. We didn't get to see a lot of Kendrick this against Virginia, but obviously a lot of State fans, including us, can't stop thinking about him after what we saw from him against VMI. So these questions are kind of for you, Phillip. But what are your thoughts on Kendrick Raphael? Can he emerge as a bell cow once he's healthy and he's back on the field?
My take is bell cow might be a little much. He's still a true freshman, right?
Yeah,
and he's
absolutely.
not a particularly big guy. The college season is a lot different than the high school season. And I'm just, when you look at the size of guys you're going up against, just quality of competition, I would not view him as a bell cow. That's just not how I see it at this point. Maybe down the road, but frankly, how long has it been since NC State's really had a bell cow, right? It was Reggie Gillespie in, what was that, 2018 maybe? Yeah. So I think it's going to be hard to say true bell cow, because I'm not sure that's how they view it. I think they like to rotate. They like to have different guys doing different things.
I'm not sure you have a bell cow in an NI offense, to be honest with you.
They had Sean Tucker. But that's because Sean Tucker was Sean Tucker.
He's an NFL caliber guy. So I mean, that's a little different. Do you know anything about his health? I mean, he was on the 3 deep depth chart. So I mean, I assume that he's available, or at least. I mean,
that one I haven't heard anything on. I'm hoping he's there. Obviously, we're getting a little thin back there, and he provides that uniqueness, that that quick, shifty ability. That's not Delbert Mims, right? We all recognize that. Delbert Mims has kind of been that short yardage back. Michael Allen is very much of a downhill runner. We've seen him when he gets lateral, he struggles to change direction. He's a bit of a stiff runner. Watch him when he runs, right? He's a little stiff. And I think Raphael is that nice changeup, but I don't know you're going to go to him over and over and over again, right? That's just not how I view him at this point. So
You bring him in for the jump over 2 defenders play. That's what you use him for.
That was a great play. That was a great play call, right? And I nailed that one.
That was gorgeous. Yeah. All right. So jumping on. So I'm actually going to group 2 of these together for the sake of time because I think these are going to go hand in hand. But what does the offense need to do to be more explosive? And how can we get Rosner more involved with the offense? And because I think these go hand in hand. So
Get more explosive.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. So I mean, kind of jumping back in. I'm sure it'll kind of lead into our conversation about Rosner. But I know, listening to every podcast, not only just Inside Pack Sports, but Pack Pride, Wolfpacker, you name it. Like all of them say and point out that UConn, VMI were very deep focus. Like they were making sure they kept everything in front of them. I mean, literally there'd be a lot of times against VMI where their closest pass coverage defender was like 8 or 9 yards off the ball. So basically like within 6 or 7 yards of the line of scrimmage, there was nobody. So, all day long, Brandon was just, okay, cool. You'll let me take 5 yards? Sure. Not a problem. Sounds good to me. So, but kind of give me, your thoughts. I know that, everybody's just kind of drooling at the mouth, thinking about 2021, seeing 4,500 yards still. And again, seeing that Anai offense that we've seen, even with Syracuse, which was very, aggressive up and down the field.
Well, there's a lot of layers of this, right? This
100%.
This has been the
not a simple answer. Yeah.
The topic du jour, frankly. This is an offense that it's kind of funny. I've had some folks kind of snark back at me here recently about stuff like success rate, right? The NC State offense is very good if you're looking at a measure of like success rate, and that's just down to down. Can they move the ball to gain a first down and things of that nature, right? They're 5th in the conference right now. But you take a team like FSU, they're 9th in the conference in overall success rate. They're a home run. They're a boom or bust style of offense. That's not NC State's. But NC State is missing the explosiveness. As I kind of went through the numbers post UVA, I was looking at my charts this weekend. That pops. We're seeing there's a completion rate of only 14% on passes 20 or more yards. That's too low. It has to be better. And so I think the first thing is going to be, and I'm sure a lot of people have brought this up, we've talked about it ad nauseum, the wide receiver rotation.
That is like
we cannot.
That is screaming it from the mountaintops.
That's topic du jour number 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like Alex G on our podcast, and he's awesome, knows so much. He made such a good point the other night. We were talking about it, and he said, because I think we had a game on while we're talking, and it's like, look at the quarterback going over to talk to the wide receiver, right? They're talking about what they're seeing coverage wise, and maybe next time instead of breaking it at 15, they're going to break it at 13 based on what the DB's doing. Who's Armstrong? Is he going to talk to all 9 guys? Because we are rotating everybody right now.
I made the comment the other day, like in 3 of the 4 games, we've had 10 different receivers catch a ball.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, we're like unless you got Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, where it doesn't really matter who they're throwing to. I mean, you're going to have to get that, that chemistry. Like it has to be there.
Well, I mean, Collins came in. I want to say I don't remember the exact number, but he came in for like roughly 6 routes. He ran like 6 routes the other day, and he got 2 balls thrown his way, almost back to back, and then he's gone. And it's kind of like, what was the point of that? What did we accomplish there? I mean, frankly, I agree. I've heard a lot of people talking about it. I think you have to lean towards some of the newer guys, and you have to just simply give them the snaps. All right. I mean, seniority and guys who've been on the team for a while. That's the reality of the situation. Rosner cannot run 12 routes a game. That is
heck no.
That's asinine, to be honest.
Heck
with you.
no.
So
I know that's why he didn't come here. He didn't come here to run 12 routes.
No.
And not at this point. You're 4 games in. He knows the offense stuff by now. You can't make that excuse like, oh, well, he's still getting used to things now. He should know it by now. He should know by now.
So with that being said, Phillip, what's your rotation?
I mean, for me, I think Rosner is an outside guy. Now, whether you want to play him X or Z, frankly, at this point, they're so interchangeable. I don't care. Obviously, you have KC. I
Are you sure about that?
You're right.
He is a freshman.
Yeah. Now, I have a hard time seeing him take Lassane off the field, frankly. I just don't think they will.
Yeah.
He's getting a lot of targets for too little production. But at the same time, you hear his name come up over and over, whether it be in interviews or even just stuff in the background. And Armstrong likes him. I think he'll stay there. But I think they can do some different things, right? And we'll talk. So we're actually going to record our kind of film review show later on tonight. And one of the things UVA did is one of the things I love. And to me, this is where we should be. You can set up shot plays, right? So one of the things UVA did is they would go formation into the boundary. And what does that mean? They're going to take the pass strength. They're going to put like 3 guys into the short side of the field, and they're going to take one receiver and they're going to put him, to the wide side, to the field. And they're going to say, it's basically at that point one-on-one, because the safety's got to honor where the passing strength is, right? It's one-on-one. You're saying go win. And we saw them use Fields versus Shaheem Battle a couple of different times. Now, I can think of one where Shaheem won. I can think of another where Fields won. But it was a big play when he won, right? It was a back shoulder throw, about 20, 25 yards. Big play at a big leverage spot in that game to really kind of keep momentum on their side. I mean, stuff like that. I will tell you, Drinkwitz used to do that all the time, and we've kind of been missing that since Drinkwitz. He used to do that, and I remember it specifically. I can think of the Louisville game in 2018 where he had a Mecca out there and was roasting people one-on-one in the open field. I think there are things you can do from that perspective. But, again, it all comes back to, are we putting the right people in the right spots, at least for enough snaps to really, truly get a rhythm, to understand what's happening? Things change throughout a game. Sometimes a receiver notices that the way a DB shades or the leverage of a DB, and he knows, hey, if I break it out this way, or I can do certain things, and I'm not sure this wide open rotation is benefiting us this late in the season. And it's crazy to say this late in the season. I expected it in the first couple games. I did not expect it through a third of the season. I mean, to have that many guys, I'm a little shocked that we're this deep into the season. And then I will say, we'll bring up Vereen. Vereen has had some rough plays in the last couple of weeks after such a breakout against Notre Dame. But I don't think you can take a talent like that off the field. I mean, you have to find ways to give him the ball. That is the coach's job, and I think you've got to do it. He really showed an ability to understand space and leverage against Notre Dame, to find voids, catch, turn, and run and meet. I was very impressed with what he did. We cannot lose that. We cannot say, yeah, he had a bad rep here and Coach and I's chewing him out on the sideline. We're not going to put him back in.
Right.
He's too good. He's too good. I don't care if he's a true freshman. He showed something that game. We have to figure out what his strengths are and put him in the right spot.
I think you probably just simplify it for him, right? Just find some packages where he's got him down pat. He knows where he needs to be, and then you just roll with that. Something like that.
Yeah. I think it can be that easy.
Yeah.
Move him around, put him in different spots. I mean, against VMI, the Bradley Rosner touchdown, you also have Vereen wide open in the end zone too on that play. And it's like, man, I'd go back to that. Yeah, I mean, that play was beautiful.
Yeah.
You had 2 guys able to catch a touchdown on that play. It was beautiful.
Well, and just to kind of finish off kind of the rotation question, because one of the things that comes to mind is, I mean, first of all, it's obvious that they're just the coach staff's not crazy about Chris Tootle for whatever reason. He's just not playing, and and whether that's Vereen just being amazing, whatever, that's a conversation for another day. But the other question which I want to ask is, though, Trent Penix is a guy, obviously last year of eligibility, we've seen what he can do. We've seen the versatility that he can give you, playing at the tight end, playing at the, the slot, playing in the, halfback role. Do you see, because I'm seeing Trent Penix as a guy that's like, hey, listen, he's got 1 year left. He's trying to go, put some tape and, go, take a shot at the NFL, XFL, whatever. Do you not see maybe the coach staff just, saying, listen, we have this talent, let's just use the heck out of him. Let's see what he can give us, because I just feel like that through 4 games, we've given him 7 targets. We just haven't really gone out of our way to involve him at all. What's your kind of thoughts there with Trent? I mean, because I think you can open up that same case with everybody else, but Trent's the guy that I am shocked that he's not been more involved with how much he's been hyped up.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us thought, right, this is going to be a kind of Swiss Army knife guy in a nice offense, and I'm very surprised at his usage rate at this point. To me, this comes back to let's talk rotation. A lot of guys have come in. This has been a very segmented offense or role-based offense where this guy comes in and this is what he does. So, I mean, I'm not going to pick on him right now, but I'm just going to say, right, Jacarius Peak. We have brought in who is a backup offensive lineman. We've made him a tight end, right? He's had some good plays, had some bad plays.
Sure.
But when he's in the game, he's an eligible guy that is not going to catch the pass. And now we only have 4 eligibles in the game, frankly, the way I view it. Are we going to throw the ball to carry speak? I don't think so. To me, you have to take a guy like Trent Penix and say, listen, I know you're probably not as good of a blocker as Ja'Carry Speak, but I want that run pass threat out there at all times. I don't want them to come out and Ja'Carry Speak comes out and they're saying, all right, don't worry about him, right? They have 4 eligibles. Let's focus on that. I really despise how role-based it has gotten. I want those true dual threat players, and Penix is one of them, right? And I made a comment earlier today. One of my favorite things this offense does is when they go into split backs. So they have 2 guys in the backfield with Armstrong right there. They're very creative out of that. They've used DeMarcus Jones basically in a fullback role. I want to see Penix there. I want Penix to serve that. If Penix is going to block some, fine. But I think there's so much more we can do with Penix and Allen or Raphael or Mint. But I think there's more you can do with it. I think putting DeMarcus Jones solely in that role, we've tried to throw him the ball one time. I don't know if that he's truly the threat that we need there. I think we can use a guy like Penix. Now, is he as good at blocking as the other guys? Probably not. And I'm not saying he's just incapable, but he's probably not quite as good. But give me the threat and the something that the defense has to respect. And I think that makes up for the loss of blocking value he provides, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. If nothing else, it
100%.
shortens the pass pattern, right? So, if you have him in there, that way he doesn't have to hold up for, a couple extra seconds.
Yeah.
You make changes to the play or whatever. I agree. I think that's what maybe fans, and you're kind of alluding to it. You just want to see some more creativity, because things got so stale with Tim Beck, and we hear about Anai is putting people in, movement and, trying to create havoc on the defense, making them think, overthink, underthink, and then finding the weak spot and exploiting it. And it just doesn't feel like that's happened at this point in this offense for whatever reason that may be.
It has been noticeable, guys. How much did we watch in the preseason? Shifts and motions and all the pre-snap stuff. I mean, we're not seeing it here. I don't have an answer for it, but it's very noticeable to me. And so.
Absolutely. And last question, and then Phillip, we'll let you go. I know you got to get ready, but what are your thoughts on Dave Doeren's tenure so far, and how long do you think he will continue? AKA, how are you starting?
Loaded
Where are
last
you in terms of
That really is. Wow.
And it was good seeing you, Phillip.
Man. Listen, Dave Doeren has done tremendous things here. You're not going to sit here and hear me like bash him to the point that I think he should be gone by any means. I don't necessarily agree with everything he does, right? Sure. Because, I mean, we talk about this receiver rotation and all that, and we can talk about who's responsible for it, right? Is it Anai? Is it Joker Phillips? To me, he's the head coach. If he's allowing it, he's responsible, right? And so stuff like that, I disagree with him on because I view him as ultimately responsible for it. At the same time, what he's been able to do at NC State is, I don't want to go too far, but I mean, it's very good. I'll put it that way. I mean, we're competitive this year. I do not think we get blown out by teams this year. We might not win some games, but we're not going to get blown out. He has his program in a good spot. There's still talent on the defensive side, right? We didn't talk defense yet. You can see the drop off from like a Drake Thomas and Isaiah Moore. That's very noticeable to me. But you see a guy like Caden Ford. I'm very excited for him in the future and the way he's building and developing. He brought that guy in, and he was able to convince that guy to stay because there is something good waiting for you. There is still talent in this program. I like where it is. We're out of the divisions, right? We don't have to sit behind Clemson. Now, maybe that's not necessarily the worst thing nowadays, but maybe does Florida State take their spot? I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of in the camp. Florida State's going to be a one-year wonder. A lot of people are going to leave and they're going to drop back down next year. But that's next year. But I don't know. Like, I know some people aren't crazy about him. Maybe he's not, the most charismatic guy. He's not Deion Sanders. He's not throwing shades out to everybody. But at the same time, it's a solid program. We don't have major off the field issues. I think they can, if where I really want them to improve off the field. Now, off the field is not necessarily my forte as much, but I think they can be more aggressive in the portal. And what I mean by that is we've had this discussion, James Henderson and our kind of group there. There are quality players in the portal you don't even have to pay NIL for.
Yeah.
So it's not that, and I want to see them more aggressive there. Very good example. We just saw on Friday night, Washington for UVA. Was it Malik Washington? I think his first name,
Yeah.
or maybe I got his first name wrong.
Oh, you should know it by now, as much as they called it.
I know. That guy didn't cost anything. He came from Northwestern. They scouted him. They found ability, and they said, you can fit. They didn't have to pay that guy any NIL money. I still think you do not have to sit here and say, we don't have the money to go get players, right? And this is a James Henderson point. I can hear him in my head saying it right now. Like, you don't have to pay him. You can still go out and find quality players. I'd like to see State be a little more aggressive from that perspective off the field. But we've seen him make changes when changes need to be made, right? Bringing in Robert Anai is different than Tim Beck, who is different than Drink. I mean, he's made changes. From bringing in Tony Gibson to run the 3-3-5 versus 4. He's made changes. I'm not down on Dave Doeren. So whenever, I'm on a podcast or wherever we're talking about this and we say, yeah, I don't like this one thing, I think some people sometimes take that way out of context. And I am not saying that at all. I really appreciate the job he's done here.
Yeah, absolutely.
No,
we'll kind of answer this on our own, but I mean, I do want to, for respect to your time, Phillip. I mean, do you have a few minutes to talk about defense real quick?
Yeah, let's talk defense. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. All right, well, let's talk defense. And then Michael, Greg, we'll kind of come back around and we'll give our points on this as well.
Sure.
But so while we have Phillip, so I mean, for me, defensive side, it's kind of tough to really pinpoint too much, at least for the Virginia game, just because of the fact they did play basically twice as much as the offense did against Virginia. I mean, late in the game, I mean, they came up with 2 interceptions, which, almost back to back, which, I mean, should have won the game, but just because of the fact the offense kept going 3 and out, trying to, run out the clock, it just kept putting the defense more and more once again into that tough situation where they had to bail us out once again. But I mean, kind of talk to me about 2 things. First of all, like, the deep shots were there once again. And please tell me, I've asked everybody this. I'm going to ask you this once again as well. Why do we rush 3? Why do we rush 3? To me, it makes no sense. It doesn't. It's not successful. It's not even more times than not. Like, I mean, I'm sitting here saying you're basically asking 3 guys to beat 5 offensive linemen, when even if you just rushed 4, that means that 3 guys are going to basically be one-on-one with the offensive lineman compared to only 1 defensive lineman when you're rushing 3. And we just, again, no knack against CJ Clark, Savion Jackson, but they're just not to that elite caliber where they can get through double teams more times than not. You know what I mean? So you're basically relying on that one guy to hopefully get through. So, I mean, kind of give it to me first. I mean, on that, well,
I think drop 8 is very much of a useful concept nowadays. I would say, I think I disagree with you here a little bit, Leighton.
That's fine.
I think it's more successful than you're giving it credit for. The Aiden White interception was drop 8, right? Now, because that was a tremendous play. If you go back, I actually watched a little bit of the film of that one earlier. Noah Potter makes a very underrated play because they're simply UVA's running 4 verts. They got 4 guys vertical, and so the quarterback's going to look at the seams. Now, he looked at the first seam, and the safety was shading that way, and he was about to come back to Washington. Potter makes a tremendous play, gets at his feet, brings his eye level down, and that eye level didn't allow him to throw on time. He scrambles out, and Aiden White's kind of baiting him into the throw at that point because he sees Washington. He knows what's kind of going on. But, I mean, tremendous plays. I like drop 8 in some situations. Now, it is the great counterpoint. There was a guy, I cannot remember. I wish I could give him credit on the message boards. We've talked about it, but he really pinpointed it earlier this year when he said the NC State defense is very much of a barbell approach where we blitz heavy, or we're on the other end and it's a 3-man rush. They don't do a lot of in between. There's not a lot of just 4-man rush.
Yeah.
They are one end of the spectrum, or the very much like a barbell, right? Investing barbell. They talk about that kind of stuff. And I thought that was a great way of kind of we've talked about it, but how do you really label it? It's the yin and the yang. It's the counter to it. And I think NC State has good secondary guys. Now it's important because they play a lot of man coverage. They played more man coverage this year than they have in other years that I can remember. And what that's done is that has left guys on islands. And maybe sometimes it's guys you don't want on islands. So, when we were doing our podcast the other night, post UVA, we talked about Sean Brown. Sean Brown has been picked on a little bit in pass. Now, Sean Brown is tremendous in and around the box. He has gotten picked on because he's overly aggressive when it comes to pass coverage, right? We saw them hit that out and up to Malik Washington. And so I think that it's kind of a situation where they cannot leave those guys in one-on-one coverage all game. There's got to be a change up at some point. They've got to do something different. I think it's actually would hurt to leave them in coverage all game. So that's going to be something to monitor. We were talking the other night with all the issues in the secondary. How do you attack that? Let me ask you guys your opinion, right? We know we have issues at safety. Do you say, because I think there's two options here, right? Do you say, well, we're going to affect the pass by getting to the quarterback. We're going to get after him. We're not going to let him have clean, clear reads. We're not going to give him time in the pocket. Or do you let guys kind of back up, be able to see the quarterback, read his eyes, and try to make plays as routes are developing? Because I don't know. I can kind of make it an argument for either one, to be honest with you.
I think it just depends on your opponent and the quarterback that you're facing, right? Because
that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, because if you got a real guy mobile who can break containment, then you're screwed. I mean, that guy's got to run all day.
Yeah.
So I think to your point, I think you just have to pick and choose. Situational, I think, will definitely dictate that. Obviously, if it's long yardage, I don't think you need to blitz at that point, right? You play coverage and don't let anybody get to the sticks. But I'm with you though, because it is really truly a game of cat and mouse.
Yeah.
Really is.
No, on third and long, I like the blitz on third and long because the quarterback's going to have to get it out quick, and I think that that doesn't give the receivers as much time to get downfield and
make a tackle though.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Right.
You
got to stop them.
I always think back to the Miami game 2 years ago. State got very aggressive on third down. They left the running back open on a wheel route and think, it can't happen, right? That's the give. There's a give and take to everything that you do on the field. You guys are 100% correct. It's probably opponent dependent. So, for example, let's take a quick peek ahead. We're about to play Louisville, right? They've got Plummer at quarterback. Plummer is not a runner.
Nope.
He's not a runner. So I would actually expect them to heat him up this weekend, right? Because one of the things that's always stuck out to me, you guys remember Michael Vick back, early 2000s, right? Of course,
I'm the old guy, so everybody tells me I remember him. So
you've heard that guy. He forced defenses out of man coverage. It got to the point you could not play man coverage against Michael Vick because what they really learned at a runner of his caliber, if you have guys turning their back, he's going to exploit that all day. Yeah. So they had to play zone almost strictly once they figured out we can't just contain Michael Vick in this league. And that's always kind of stuck with me. When you get these really high-end runners, and I'm actually thinking ahead right now in my head to Riley Leonard at Duke. That will probably be a very zone-heavy defensive game plan, whereas this will probably be a very man-heavy blitz concept against Louisville. That's kind of what I'm thinking, and I think it all comes down to the quarterback's legs, right? Mm-hmm. Can you handle that?
Yeah. Well, because kind of one thing that comes to mind is the 2-point conversion play, and I'm thinking to myself, if we didn't rush 3, would that not have happened? That's just kind of one question to me. Giving him that much time and the possibility where it looked like to me Shaheem just basically lost Malik somehow. I don't know why you lose Malik, but I mean somehow he did, and it basically forced Sean Brown to cover him one-on-one, and the height difference between Malik and Sean, it just led to a perfect situation that Virginia did not expect to have on 2-point conversion from the 17-18 yard line. So that's what that's kind of my point, and also too, being that he's a freshman, we talked about who you're going against, being that I feel like when you're playing a freshman, you go after him, you try and get in his head, you try and knock him off his game, put doubt in his head a lot sooner than later. So that's kind of my thoughts. I mean, agreements there or.
I mean, I can absolutely see it. Now, I will say, man,
Yeah.
we talked about Calandria, leading up to this game. I like that kid, man. I like this film. The word I use multiple times is juice, man. The kid makes plays. I like what they have there. They better be selling the crap out of him to recruits, man. Look at this kid we have. If I were them, I would. If I was Des Kitchen, man, I'd be selling that guy. At the same time, I'll say this: how many times do you think they complete that 2-point conversion pass? Right?
Yeah.
You kind of throw it up. It's a little Hail Mary-ish in a way. Like you're kind of throwing up and saying high point it win.
Yeah, that's.
I'm not sure it's a high percentage, right?
I mean,
whether you blitz or drop 8,
you should. I mean, you have to get it into the end zone. Excuse me.
Whether you blitz or drop 8, like you have to stop a third or whatever 2-point conversion from the 17-yard line.
Yeah.
I don't think
or 4th and 17.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, and go ahead, Greg.
No, I was just gonna say, hindsight's 20/20. It's easy, right? Like he bats the ball down. It's like, good play, good play call on the defense.
They forced him to throw it up, and
I mean, 9 times out of 10, that dude's not making that catch or that play.
Yeah. Well, and kind of my point on it was more of that, just that I think that again, it just was. I think a lot of it's hindsight's 20/20. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Just to, and I appreciate you, Phillip, because nobody's really been able to answer me in terms of what is the real benefit, at least for us, for rushing 3, just because a lot of the big plays we've given up is just because we give the quarterback too much time, specifically Sam Hartman and Calandria, and between Sam Hartman's amazing arm that he has and Calandria's ability to scramble. They both have made us pay rushing 3 a lot of times, more times than not. So,
a couple more things for you here, real quick, just while defense is in my head. 2 comments. One, the defensive line for this year's defense is, in terms of importance, has really taken a leap in terms of it. This has been a very linebacker-centric defense for the last several years. I kind of see it the opposite now. I see defensive line being just really important. To me, I didn't think they had the greatest first half. I thought, which is crazy to say because they only had 7 points, but I didn't think they got the pressure I expected them to get. I thought they played better in the second half. They forced him out. He made some plays on the move, but I thought the D-line was better. But it's very interesting to me how it has changed. It is now very D-line centric, in my opinion, which is very odd for a 3-3-5. The other thing I'll say is these big plays that they're giving up, they have to tackle better on the back end. Right. We've talked about missed run fits and stuff like that, over the first 4 games, which has happened.
Yeah.
But ultimately, safety's job is to keep a broken play to 12, 15 yards and not 80 yards. They have to be better on the back end. And I'll even say Peyton Wilson. If you think back to the screen pass that went for 60-something yards or whatever it went for, Peyton Wilson was actually playing free safety. And he had the chance to tackle him at about the 15 to 20-yard mark, somewhere in there, and he missed the tackle. I don't know how to explain it, but we have to tackle better in open space on these plays. Sometimes they just beat you, and that's actually kind of my takeaway on that play. They actually just had a great play call for the rush that NC State was doing, and sometimes you just win, but you have to limit it, and State's not limiting it right now.
Calandria he had the pump fake, and then he threw it sidearm around him too. So it's that was just a great play.
He made a great play, and once he got it around, there was nobody else out there because you had, I want to say, was it Battle and Brown, and they got kind of walled off, and there was nobody on the interior, and it's okay, I'm not sure what else they could have done outside of knock it down or Shaheem Battle makes a crazy play to trip him up early.
Yeah,
but my issue was really more with, Wilson's got to tackle him at 20 yards, right? 20 yards. They beat us on that play. Let's live. We can't miss that tackle. We can't.
Yeah.
Agreed. Well, Phillip, I know that we need to let you go so you can get to your recording with Inside Pack Sports. So I want to say, first of all, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure, and appreciate your insight, answering some questions from our followers as well. It's, really appreciate your insight.
No, I appreciate the opportunity, guys. Love what you guys do, and the audience you've built, very impressive. So,
thank you, Phillip. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Phillip.
Have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk soon.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. All righty, y'all. So let's jump back into. I know that Greg and Michael, I kind of, unfortunately, had to kind of cut it off there with the
You're
Doeren
good.
topic there. So, but we did have one other question, and we'll get to some of these comments here, which kind of fed in back into it here, which we didn't touch on. But why does Doeren seem to play not to lose? And because I know we've talked like to death about Doeren and his tenure, and why we were so sold on him for sure. So maybe we can kind of necessarily stay less way more from that, but more just talking about why does it seem like Doeren seems to play not to lose? Yeah, and Carson coming in here saying, I will say Doeren needs to be more aggressive. He plays a little too conservative in situations that could be more comfortable. And like one immediate example that comes to my mind is last year against Syracuse, where like basically he came out at the halftime saying, yeah, we need to get some kind of a pick six or fumble return for a touchdown. Basically, I mean, he didn't say that like verbatim, but that's basically what he was saying. And you're sitting there going, really? Like that's our only option to win this game, is if one of those things happens. Like, that's not what I want to hear. And yeah, and I think that there's a lot of times that he really relies on the defense to win the game. Like there'll be times like against Virginia where it seemed like to me just like Phillip said, running very basic plays, running the ball to try and get the first down, and it didn't work. And he punted the ball willingly, back to to try and get the defense to win. And so, I mean, I do agree, but I also say as well, and we're talking about not to lose. Like even let's say like go into halftime, like Notre Dame, for example, there was the conservative play calling, and then we had one big play for Brandon. And we're like, oh wait, we're actually in field goal range. Wait, maybe we should, be. It's like, well, it's too late. You already ran so much time off. So, Greg, I know you've been, thinking about it, rubbing the beard of
getting my wise beard.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, of wise. Yeah, the wise beard of Greg. So give me your thoughts here, man.
Yeah. So you first off, you have to remember Doran's background is on the defensive end, right? So he's always going to lean to that side. He's going to trust his gut, if you will. For me, it's you've got a punter. We've had punters over the last half dozen years or so. You had Trenton Gill, who's in the NFL. I can't even say dude's name right now. Our current
AJ
punter.
Cole.
No, AJ Cole. Then
Noonkester.
Noonkester. Thank you. So you've had those three punters, right? To where, and I think Noonkester. I think Newcastle, or whatever his name is. I think he's going to be an NFL caliber type guy. I mean, he's got a strong leg.
Impressive.
Yeah, for sure. So he's flipped the field. So when you have those caliber players, and you can flip the field and make the other team go 80, 90 yards, you like your chances in those things. So you just don't want to screw up and give them a short field.
Right.
And so sometimes instead of just putting the foot on the gas and just go, he's like, you know what? I'm going to play the odds here. I'm going to play the analytics game. And that's what
loves his analytics.
Loves his analytics. So I think, when you throw all those combinations in, that's, and we've had a top, 15, 20 defense over the last, 4 or 5 years as well, nationally. That's just what you're going to do. You're going to play to your strengths. And those unfortunately are your strengths. Your offense isn't the strength most of the time.
Well, and it's just unfortunate, Michael. I kind of want to hear your thoughts too. But I mean, like I think that the unfortunate thing is that it's really been since 2018. Well, maybe 2021, but like that, like we really had that top 15, top 20 offense that was like, knock your socks off. So I think that's kind of one of the issues for myself and a lot of State fans, where it's like, yeah, we've had a really great defense, but we also just haven't really had a really great offense overall. And the reason why I hesitate to bring up 2021 is because we didn't really run the ball that efficiently. Most of all of our scores were by passing the ball. So, but 2018, you had Reggie Gillespie and you had Kelvin Harmon, Stephon Lewis, Jacoby Myers, Ryan Finley, you name it. So that's kind of my other point as well. Michael, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree kind of with what both you guys are saying, but I mean, I think he does it.
But who more? I'm just kidding.
You got to pick one.
You got to pick one.
Yeah.
60-40 Greg.
Oh,
wow. I think he does it because it works most of the time. I mean, over the last 5 or 6 years, it's only when you're looking at total wins and ACC wins, State's in that top 3 or 4, I think now. Yeah, behind like Clemson and Pitt and
I think Miami. I think we're one game behind Miami. Yeah.
It's shocking to believe, but yeah.
Right.
It it makes for close games, it makes for a lot of one possession games, but we win a lot of them. So
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Josh brings up a good point right here, which again, I mean, I didn't necessarily notice it too much, but maybe Michael, maybe you did. But if you're going to, play that way, at least hike the ball with 1 to 2 seconds left on the play clock and stop leaving so much time on the play clock by hiking the ball so early, which I mean, I didn't notice. I mean, okay. It seems like y'all noticed.
I mean, well, I don't. It's definitely, yeah. I mean, they're definitely not letting it run down to 1-2 every time. So I mean, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, yeah, we had, if you get 5 or 6 plays and you wait another 5 seconds, that's another 30 to 40 seconds running off the clock. Yeah. So
yeah. And again, Hunter, brings it right here saying Dave has made us an 8 to 9 win team from a 5, and 7 win team. I would say under O'Brien it was more like 6 and 6 or 7 and 5, but still not overly amazing seasons. His offensive limitations makes me wonder if he'll ever make that magical run. And I mean, like, first thing which I'll say, I mean, everybody knows this comment, defense wins championships, so I mean, like, if you're gonna rely on one thing, I'd rather rely on my defense than have to rely on my offense. Because I mean, because a good defense can win, most plays, even if the offense is playing well. But if the offense is playing well, it does. I mean, then the defense might just be in the right spot at the right time to stop it. So
yeah. I mean, that's a cliche, but cliches are usually they're cliches for a reason because they're usually true.
Well, if you think about it, what was the streak until Notre Dame not giving up 30 points? I mean, in today's age of, high scoring offensive, offense has the advantage based on the rules and, just whatever things. I think last year we averaged giving up like 18, 19 points a game, and you scored 24. So that's going to tell you right there, you're going to win the majority of your ball games. And so that's what you're looking for, so if your defense is your strong side of your team, and then you've got a good, strong, special teams like we had the last couple of years with Chris Dunn, where you could, win a field goal game and, you bleed the clock down to the end and kick a field goal and walk it off and go home. That just makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's
absolutely. And I mean, and Doc kind of asked a question here saying, can you name a game we lost because Doeren played not to lose? I feel like that's kind of a tough question to answer because, like, Boston College
comes to mind.
Last year are 2 games that come to mind. But
Boston College,
like,
really.
to me,
but more Boston College, MJ Morris had 3 second half turnovers. Like, if he, only has 1 or 2, maybe we don't lose that game because we get the ball and score again.
Yeah, but I think we were putting it on our defense to hold them to not score at the end of the game, right? And so I just feel like you a play call here, a play call there, you get a first down, it's over. The other team doesn't even get the ball, right? And so I think that just is the one that comes to mind.
Wake 2018. That's one a lot of people point out.
Was that where Mecca fumbled?
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
Was that or was that 2017? Because we lost them back to back, right?
Did we?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
No, 2018. 2018 was the that was the one at State when the third string quarterback came in who transferred to Georgia. And we
Jamie
lost
Newman
under the lights. Jamie Newman. Yeah, we lost to Jamie Newman. Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
So 2017 was the one where Amazing fumbled on the goal line.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few. Steve goes Clemson. That's fair. I mean, we lined up to kick a field goal and couldn't kick a field goal.
Yeah.
Instead of going for the gusto.
And again, I mean, that's to me, even still to this day, that's still one of those decisions which I'm saying, see, even still to me, like hindsight 2020, I just don't know if that's so obvious. Like, man, like clearly if you would have gone for it, then we would have won. It's like, I mean, you gave Kyle, you gave our kicker, a less than 40-yard field goal. I mean, like, are you really going to say no to that?
The number one team at their place
in the country. Like I get what you're saying in terms of the woes, but like, it's like, am I really like, because then the opposite, which is that again, hindsight 2020, which is you go for it. and then you turn the ball over or something like that, and then it's like, well, you had a 37-yard
you don't-
field goal. It's like,
right,
yeah, no,
yeah.
like,
Yeah, it's not like
Oh,
it
it-
was like a 50-yarder go for
right,
it. Yeah.
right, or even
It's-
over 40.
It's definitely it's easy to play armchair quarterback 6-7 years later. Like,
Oh, for sure.
you think
yeah,
Monday
no,
morning
absolutely.
quarterback is easy. Wait till you do
Yeah.
it 6 or 7 years later.
Now-
Yeah,
now,
I just think though, like what Phillip was saying though, you know, the way our team has been structured, you're not going to get blown out. And you're going to be in these games, and so
Mhm.
at the end of the day, if you've got a chance at the end to win, that's really all you can ask for. Now, obviously, you want to come out on that on the winning side more times than not. I don't know. Like, what are your feelings? Would you rather lose a close game or go get blown out and then go to the parking lot and drink after the game?
It depends. It depends
I
on the
mean,
opponent, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I'd rather lose a close game every time.
Well,
I mean,
that's the thing. I think as like a fan, like, you know, if you're not necessarily invested in the future of the program, you'd rather just get blown out just because, you know, then you don't have the like gut wrench of like, oh, it was so close, like we could have won. Like it
Yeah.
was like, no, we had no chance. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like for the
Mhm.
development of a program, like you'd rather be close
Yeah.
every single game. So
For sure.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah. But the one thing which I want to bring up, and then we'll jump on over some tweets of the week here, y'all. But Braden Narvison, you know, first of all, got to give a huge shout out to that guy. Could not be more thrilled, you know, to see him go out, you know, being, you know, kicking the game-winning field goal for us, which was huge and was great to see.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here saying, you know, we've obviously, you know, underneath Doeren era, have had some interesting situations when it comes to kicker, and we've also had the greatest kicker to ever kick at NC State history in Chris Dunn. And I'm looking at Braden Narvison saying, okay, he's 4 for 6 overall in field goals. He's 2 for 3 between 30 and 39, 2 for 2 for 40 to 49, 0 for 1 for 50 plus. But he's made every single extra point, 14 for 14. He made a field goal, which, I mean, like, he could have made that thing from probably 55, how hard he kicked that sucker. So I mean, like, I feel like to me, this is kind of the norm. Like this is, you know, the norm kicker that most programs hope for, which is, you know, he can make it from over 50. You know, if he's called upon, he's you know, reliable, at least with the extra point side, you know, which, I mean, you know, during Doeren's tenure, even extra points were not guaranteed at all, which is a sad thing to say, but just it's the unfortunate reality. So you know, kind of got both tastes within 10 years between, you know, the really bad and the really good kicking situation. I think now we're kind of landing in the middle here. Would you all agree with that?
Yeah.
I think Darvison's really good. I mean, obviously, anybody isn't going to be as good as Chris Dunn, but I mean, yeah,
exactly.
For now,
yeah.
I mean, he hasn't lost you a game, right? So there hasn't been a game where we lost by 3 points and we missed a field goal or 3 points or less. You know what I mean? So you know, until that happens, I mean, he's fine. You know, I mean, he's
good.
I hate to use the word serviceable, but I mean, he's getting the job done.
Yeah. That first one was going in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Before they blocked it illegally.
Yeah.
Dude, that's true.
Dude felt like he jumped on a damn trampoline. He came like he came over the top.
Well, and see, that's my thing too, which another thing which I'll point out is that, I mean, that's just a complete blunder. Like, that's not like oops, like that was like dude, like, what were you thinking? Like, that was just a, like, you know, like, where was the coaching in that, being like, Darrow, like, you know, like, that's rule number one. Like, literally on a kick, on a field goal, there's 2 players that are watched, the kicker and the snapper, and literally, like, you just like blatantly like disregarded. It was the easiest call of all time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of a risk reward play. Like, maybe they don't call it and I get the block, but yeah.
I mean, I guess it didn't get called in the Ohio State Notre Dame game, right?
Something that's what I saw some people saying.
Yeah, something very similar.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, again, and, you know, Andy's saying it here. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that like he's average. I'm just saying he's more towards the average than we've had in a while. You know, we've either had really good or really, really not good. So, you know, it's good to, you know, that at least even after Chris Dunn, like, we're still getting that guy that we can rely on, and that we've seen it, you know, but in a big situation, he's come through for us. So huge, great things to see there. So anyway, y'all, let's jump on over some Tuffy tweets of the week. Here we go. That was anything but smooth, y'all. I
It's
apologize
like
Yeah,
the
for
government.
that.
If you're gonna do it twice, it's well.
I know, right?
We're doing.
Anyway, so Friday night here, 7 p.m. y'all, at Carter Finley. Got Blackout, y'all. Got Greg actually not rocking New
Rocking.
Jersey. Is that the New Jersey? Oh, it
Is
is New
that
Jersey.
the new
Okay,
one?
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn the
Yeah.
lights off when we end this thing to see if it still glows.
Oh, okay. There we go.
It's pretty
So
sweet,
yeah,
though.
I mean, I love it. For me, it's different. Like it's something that you haven't really seen in the jersey game and the uniform game
Mhm.
before in terms of glow in the dark. Now, the biggest question which comes to mind for even my wife and probably a lot of people, which is how much are you really going to see the glow in the dark? You know, what I mean, how really effective is it?
I assume they'll do it when they'll turn the lights off when they run out of the tunnel.
So yeah, I'm hoping everyone stands in front of I literally I sent a picture on our Discord. You have to charge it. So you got to put
Yeah.
lights on it to get it to really glow. And so then it only lasts maybe a minute or two anyway. Like it looks cool and then
Yeah.
it's gone. I don't think it's gonna really show, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping like maybe they stand in front of a spotlight before they come out and then get them lit up and then come on the field. I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm
It
sure
looks
they
cool.
thought it through. I would.
Yeah,
guess.
I'm sure they got a
they
plan.
would have. I'm sure they thought this through.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure they
I
got a
mean, if
plan.
nothing
But-
else, the video they did today was freaking spectacular. Like,
Yeah.
kudos
It's
to whoever
very
did
different.
I thought
Go ahead.
I thought they were gonna do it for the Clemson game because it's like Halloween. It feels like Halloween video that they made.
Yeah, well,
But,
it was their ghost
hey.
uniform, but maybe because
Yeah.
because Clemson's already got 2 losses, maybe they're thinking that won't. That's not a guaranteed night game. This is.
Yeah.
So it's just a
Yeah.
target of
Yeah, I guess
opportunity.
you have to wear these at night, so yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
True.
You look, Chris Tootle can act. That was pretty good.
He's
I'm not
pretty
gonna
good,
lie. Like it was solid, man. I wonder if they did paper
Yeah.
rock scissors to figure out who was gonna take the lead on that. But he did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
Well, Cam points out, saying, it would be sick to turn out the lights by, for the entrance at the
I think
shows are
that's
lit
what
up.
they'll do. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, and even basically when you just have the red light showing, it's pretty dark. Like,
pretty
when
dark.
they turn just the red filter lights, it's pretty dark. So, I mean, I'm sure that even in just the red light, it'll stand out pretty good. So, that's my hope. So, excited to see it. But anyway, y'all, but the biggest thing, reminder once again, don't be like Michael, wear black, y'all. Like, listen, you got to wear black, do it. I know we're the red and white from state. I understand, but please, 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 for the love of all good things. And again, the thing which can even helps the case is the fact that the team we're playing
I
against
got black
is
pants
also
on.
red and white and black. Oh, there you go. There you go, Michael. There
There
you
you
go. And
go.
hey, good flexibility, man, to bring that leg up, man. Yeah.
I literally just got a DM from Savannah 2J, and she goes, "There's literally people arguing about a blackout on Twitter or X."
It's pretty simple.
She's like, "What are we doing?"
Well,
I mean, I told her last week, I said, "Good luck with this." I said, "We're going to screw this up because we just got," I call them old heads, but they just want to do what they want to do. And,
we're red and white from state.
Look,
Yes.
just please, just put on a black t-shirt. I know everyone's got a black t-shirt. It doesn't even have to be state related. Just throw on a black t-shirt. It's not complicated. I get so frustrated at this. It's not even funny. And this is probably not the hill I should be dying on, but it infuriates me to no avail. Like, because we tried this a couple years ago with the red, white sections, and people couldn't even figure it out. It was on your freaking ticket stub that year. It was so easy, and people still couldn't figure it out. So anyway, I'm done. Please, someone talk.
No, I mean, it's a frustrating thing for sure. But I think that one thing that really goes into our benefit is that, first of all, the marketing team, I'm sure on purpose, made this announcement 2 weeks before the game even started. It was it's very obvious. Like, there's no, oh, I didn't know. Like, no, you knew. Like, there's no doubt. You can't miss it. And I know us and many others have been reminding people on social media, be like, it's a blackout. It's a blackout. Like, don't be that guy. And again, reminding you once again that you're saying you're the red and white for state. Well, the Louisville's the red and white from Louisville. So, I mean, I'm sitting here saying, hey, that night, Louisville's not going to be wearing black. We're going to be the only team wearing black. So wear black. If you're red and white, then you might be mistaken as a Louisville fan. So,
so
just saying.
So So Doc asked this question, like, when did we adopt black? It's actually one of our official colors. If people look at the color scheme, it's red, white, and black. That is official NC State colors. I couldn't tell you what year that happened, but it is part of our color scheme. So as much as people want to complain about it, officially, yeah. So just wear black. I'm done.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
we're clipping that for sure. Anyway, y'all. So and then jumping over to this tweet, which I thought was a beautiful tweet. Absolutely, you're man, Doc. So this tweet here, somebody asking Joe Ovies how many programs rebuild in year 10, and Ovies quote tweets is saying 99% of college football programs. Like unless you're Alabama, where you have the number 1 or number 2 high school recruiting class every single year, or if you're Georgia, where basically you just pick the best guys you can, no matter if it's high school or transfer, whatever it may be. Like most programs go through a rebuild, every so often. Now, again, the first thing which I will say, I really haven't bought in. I would necessarily call this a rebuild yet. Now is this, now watching this, team saying, and I'm sitting here saying, oh man, like this might be the best team we've had in, last 5 years. Like, no, probably not. But I mean, I'm still sitting here saying you still got Peyton Wilson, an All-American linebacker. You still got Aiden White, an All-American quarterback. You still got a quarterback who has shown that ability. But I think that, with some of these small changes, such as, shrinking down the wide receiver rotation, getting some things figured out on the offensive line, that, I mean, we can be an 8-win team, which, I mean, again, keep in mind, once again, Vegas had us at 6.5. So meaning that if we are 7-5, technically per Vegas, we did better than expectation, basically per Vegas. So
yeah, we knew this wasn't going to be, the stacked team that we've had in the last couple of years. I mean, there was no bones about it, but it's a competitive team. And that's, again, we just talked about it earlier. Like, that's what you want. There's going to be probably all these single game or all rest of these games. It will probably come down to the fourth quarter within a possession or two. And if you give yourself a chance to make a play, because all it takes is one play to make a difference. And you're gonna win 6, 7, 8 ball games. I mean, it's definitely gonna happen. But at the same time, when you're playing one possession games, it can easily go the other way, and we've seen that in past years.
Well, because the other thing which I want to add once again is that, like, I still have a lot of faith because of the fact that so many of our games are at home left over. And at the end of the day, Carter Finley is one of the toughest places, even statistically, but also just from opponents, quotes on the environment. It's a tough place to play in. It's loud, like, the fans are right on top of you. It's a tough place. And
we had Eric McLean on here say that very same thing.
Exactly. So I'm sitting here saying, listen, in these 50-50 games like this one here on Friday, even though Louisville just put 56 or whatever on Boston College, and, we struggled, to put up 24 against Virginia, I'm still saying, hey, listen, it's a new week. We're playing at home. We're playing under the lights. Or under the dark. Somebody correct me on under the dark, which I love. So, an opportunity.
Louisville's first true road game. They haven't played a road game. They've had 2 neutral sites, but not a road game. So.
Yeah,
look, absolutely. They put up two games at 56 points, but one was against Murray State, one was against Boston College. Those aren't exactly world beaters. They've also given up like 34 to Georgia Tech, and that's not a great offense either. So this has got the ability to get right. And look, if crowd noise can get us a couple of points, maybe a turnover or two, who knows what happens.
Absolutely. Alrighty, and Josh, no, we're not saying you have to wear all black shirts with nothing on it, but just a black base shirt, just like this one.
I mean, if you got a Metallica shirt, wear the Metallica shirt. Like, if it's black,
or like, or like wear like the Ice Pack jersey, which is, black, base, like, it doesn't have to be plain black, but just, a black base, so anyway, so let's jump on to wrap this thing up here. Got to give a shout out here to the announcement today that David Skywalker Thompson is going to have a statue unveiling in front of Rails Coliseum, which, to be honest with you, like, what were we waiting on? Like funding, like what is it exactly? Like why do it take us this long to put a statue of David Thompson in front of Rails Coliseum? I have no clue, to be honest.
I mean,
I don't
they're doing it this year because it's the 50-year anniversary, right?
Sure. But I mean, like, why did you have to wait until this big of a moment to put a statue of the greatest AC basketball player of all time in front of Rails Coliseum?
Well,
Like,
I mean, think about it. A lot of this is, I mean, not to say that they couldn't raise the money for it, or whoever, or maybe someone just didn't have the idea. Who knows what the thought process was behind it. I mean, I know we have the coaches' statues there in Reynolds.
Yeah, right now they're only coaches, right? He'll be the first player. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious to where it's going to go. I don't think did they say where it was going to go in the release today?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But I would assume it's got to be like, do they continue? Because basically, K Yao was like, basically, if you start on the right side of Reynolds, you have Norm Sloan, Evercase, Jimmy V, and then K Yao on the side. So my question is, do you keep going or do you start on the other side? So
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just curious.
I don't know. We'll find out. Yeah.
December 6th, which is our heritage game, by the way.
So huge. Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it. And I'm hoping it's a really good statue. I always love Jimmy V statue. I think it looks perfect. It's awesome to look at. And so excited to see what David Thompson's looks like. And then Carson saying, I walked by Reynolds today. There was construction going on the left side of the entrance. Don't know if that is a part of it. It might not be, but interesting thought. Yeah. And then Cam asked the question: if Rivers makes the Hall of Fame, I wonder if they'll put up a statue of him in front of Carter Finley. Same for Torrey Holt.
So
I just don't know if there's enough real
NFL
estate.
Hall of Fame. Yeah, I guess he's talking NFL Hall of Fame, which
right.
that shouldn't matter because I mean they should easily both be in the College Hall of Fame. But yeah, that's actually maybe that'd be a fun question we could put on Twitter, like who deserves the next statue, like for football or for basketball. Yeah, maybe we'll throw that up there.
That's a good one. And then quick things here. Yes. Is the game a sellout? Yes, it is. Again, we sold out all of our games before even the Notre Dame game even started, which is phenomenal. So it is 100% going to be a sellout. And which again is something which I always love is that, there's so many people, having issues with Doeren and, and I and play call and things like that. But yet, hey, all of us are excited and love NC State enough to show up when it counts, which is something I always love and appreciate about NC State fans for sure. All right, y'all. So that wraps it up here. First of all, thank you all so much who tuned in here with us. I hope that you all enjoyed it. I think this was a lot to think about, and even better too is that tomorrow morning we actually come out with part 1 of our NC State football discussion / Louisville preview with Ryan Williams from Inside Pack Sports as well. So part 1 will come out tomorrow morning, and then part 2 will come out on Wednesday morning. So make sure to stay tuned. And also, too, if you want to win a giveaway for 2 tickets and a parking pass, I would highly recommend tune in for tomorrow's episode, part 1. And then you got Greg coming in here. Let's see if
is it gonna happen? Let's see.
Is it gonna happen? I don't know. I'm interested here.
Oh no, let's see if we can get the last.
I love the background though, in general though. I mean,
that was kind of
like that or so often. That's kind of tight.
Yeah. Let's see here. There's still too much light.
Still too much light.
That's from the screen.
Yeah. All right. We tried.
We tried. It's all good. Yeah. So anyway, y'all, but thank you all so much for the support. Make sure again, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that free subscribe button. As a lot of our giveaways from here on out are going to be premier around our subscribers. So again, it's free to do. So make sure so that way you can go ahead and skip that step. Just hit that free subscribe button. And also make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever we release any new NC State content. And also make sure to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, y'all. But thank you all so much again for joining us. We will see you all soon, and go Pack, y'all.
Wear black.
Yes, wear black. See y'all soon. Go Pack.